Long before Rome was founded, long before Europe knew the empire, Persia was already shaping the world. But how did a civilization born in rugged mountains survive thousands of years of invasion, collapse, and rebirth, while so many others vanished forever? This was Persia, not born from river plains, but from mountains. While civilizations like Egypt and Mesopotamia thrived along predictable rivers, Persia rose in the harsh, unforgiving Zagros Mountains. Around 7,200 BC, early communities such as Choga Bonut and Sheikh-e-Abad began farming wild barley and lentils. Survival here demanded resilience, adaptability, and independence, the traits that would define Persian identity for thousands of years. And this wasn't a primitive backwater. Archaeologists uncovered a 7,000-year-old wine jar, evidence that these people weren't just surviving, they were experimenting, celebrating, and thinking creatively long before most of the ancient world caught up. Persia quickly became something rare, a bridge civilization. To the west lay Mesopotamia, the land of massive cities and irrigation systems. To the east stretched Central Asia and the routes that would one day become the Silk Road. Sitting at the crossroads of continents, Persia absorbed ideas, goods, and beliefs, and then reshaped them into something uniquely its own. By around 4000 BC, the city of Susa emerged, one of the longest continuously inhabited cities in human history. Susa became the capital of Elam, the first recognizable Persian civilization. For over 5,500 years, this city would rise, fall, and rise again, surviving conquests that erased countless others from history. The Elamites called themselves the people of the high country, mountain dwellers. Unlike their lowland rivals, they relied on pastoralism, trade, and mobility rather than massive farms. This made them fewer in number, but far harder to break. Elamite culture was strikingly different. Their religion centered on nature, sacred mountains, and a powerful mother goddess. Their art emphasized animals rather than kings or gods. And most shockingly for the ancient world, women held visible power, often depicted beside kings as equals. Even their language remains one of history's great mysteries, still not fully deciphered. But perhaps Elam's greatest legacy was tolerance. They absorbed foreign gods, welcomed outside ideas, and ruled through adaptation rather than domination, a philosophy that would echo powerfully in later Persian empires. This wasn't just the beginning of Persia, it was the forging of a mindset, one that valued strength without rigidity, power without erasure, and unity without uniformity. And soon, that mindset would give rise to one of the greatest empires the world had ever seen. Cyrus the Great didn't begin as a conqueror. He began as a vassal, ruling a small Persian territory under the control of the Medes. But in 553 BC, Cyrus rebelled, and, within a single generation, he would reshape the ancient world. What made Cyrus different wasn't just what he conquered, it was how he ruled. By 539 BC, Babylon, the most powerful and symbolic city on Earth, fell to Cyrus without the mass slaughter typical of ancient warfare. Instead of destruction, Cyrus issued a proclamation that stunned the ancient world. He respected local religions, restored temples, and allowed exiled peoples, including the Jews, to return to their homelands. This decree, later recorded on the Cyrus cylinder, is often considered the world's first charter of human rights. Cyrus didn't rule through fear, he ruled through organization. His empire was divided into provinces governed by satraps, carefully monitored by royal inspectors known as the King's Eyes. Roads stretched thousands of miles, supported by relay stations that allowed messengers to cross the empire in days, not weeks. This system was so effective that future empires, even modern governments, would copy it. Yet Cyrus was also a warrior. He created the legendary Immortals, a 10,000-strong elite force whose numbers never fell, ensuring the empire always appeared invincible. Through discipline, strategy, and restraint, Cyrus built the largest empire the world had ever seen, stretching from the Mediterranean to Central Asia. To the Persians, he was called Father, to the Babylonians, Liberator. And in the Hebrew Bible, Cyrus is the only non-Jew hailed as a divinely chosen ruler. Cyrus the Great didn't just build an empire, he defined what an empire could be. After Cyrus, the Persian Empire didn't slow down. It expanded. Under Darius I, Persia reached its administrative peak. He standardized laws, introduced a unified currency, and pushed the empire's borders east into the Indus Valley and west toward the Aegean Sea. But it was this western frontier that would drag Persia into one of history's most famous rivalries: Greece. In 492 BC, Persian forces crossed into Europe. What followed would later be mythologized by Greek historians as a heroic struggle of freedom versus tyranny. But reality was far more complex. At Marathon in 490 BC, a smaller Greek force defeated a Persian expeditionary army, shocking the ancient world. Darius planned revenge, but death intervened, leaving the task to his son, Xerxes. Yeah, the same guy from the movie 300 Xerxes led a massive invasion in 480 BC, burning Athens and appearing unstoppable. But at sea, disaster struck. At the Battle of Salamis, the Persian navy was lured into narrow waters, neutralizing its size advantage. The following year, Persian forces were defeated at Plataea, ending the invasion. To Greek storytellers, this was the fall of Persia. It wasn't. The Persian Empire remained the largest, richest power on earth for generations. Greece never invaded Persia, never dismantled its administration, and often depended on Persian gold to fuel its own wars. While Greek city-states argued endlessly, Persia continued building roads, perfecting irrigation systems, and governing a multi-ethnic empire stretching across 3 continents. The Greco-Persian Wars didn't prove that Persia was weak. They proved something far more dangerous. Even the greatest empire in the world could stumble, setting the stage for a challenger who wouldn't stumble at all. The Persian Empire didn't collapse because it was decaying. It collapsed because it met Alexander the Great. In 334 BC, Alexander crossed into Asia with an army that was tiny by Persian standards, fewer than 50,000 men, and yet terrifyingly disciplined. From the start, his campaign was fast, ruthless, and relentless. The first major clash came at Issus in 333 BC. Despite commanding a far larger army, Persian king Darius III made a fatal mistake, allowing battle in narrow terrain. When Alexander charged directly at him, Darius fled. His retreat shattered Persian morale and turned a manageable defeat into a disaster. 2 years later at Gaugamela, Persia tried again. The battlefield favored Persian numbers, but history repeated itself. Once more, Darius abandoned the field, and with him, the authority of the empire collapsed. Cities began surrendering. Resistance faded. In 330 BC, Alexander entered Persepolis, the ceremonial heart of Persia. Soon after, the city was burned. Whether by accident, revenge, or drunken impulse remains debated, but the symbolism was unmistakable. The empire of Cyrus was gone. Yet Alexander didn't see himself as Persia's destroyer. He admired Cyrus deeply, adopted Persian dress, and attempted to rule as a Persian king. He married into Persian royalty and preserved much of the empire's administrative system. But this ambition came too late. Persian loyalty had already fractured, and Alexander's own troops resisted his transformation. When Darius III was murdered by his own men while fleeing east, the ancient Persian imperial line ended not with a final stand, but with exhaustion and betrayal. The fall of Persia wasn't inevitable. It was the result of a once-in-a-millennium general facing an emperor who failed when leadership mattered most.